Hey y'all, it's Krypton Critics. I'm here to review Thor Ragnarok, the newest MCU film so far. This movie, right off the back, starting off with no spoilers, this movie is goddamn hilarious. It's one of the funniest superhero films I've seen. You know, I see a lot. It's just understanding how these films have been going, and just understanding the universe, some of the references they make to the comics. Its own is very self-aware, and it's many points of parody, but it also has a lot of dark moments that are like in the background. Like, because you're laughing so much, you don't tend to think of like, oh shit, some shit just went down. I don't have an appropriate shirt, but I do have a comic of Thor. I have not finished reading it, but I have read some of it. It's pretty cool. It's from the late '80s. Yeah, '88 is late. So this movie is directed by Taika Waititi. He's done a lot of independent films. I haven't seen any of his independent films, but after seeing this, I definitely want to see at least one of his other films. This Thor is played by Chris Hemsworth. You have Loki as Tom Hiddleston. Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo. You know, he was in the Avengers film as well. Hela is played by Kate Blanchett. Valkyrie is played by Tessa Thompson. The Grandmaster is played by Jeff Goldblum. Scourge is played by Carl Urban. Korg is played by the director Taika Waititi. He provides the voice because he's a CG animated character throughout the film. Heimdall, it returns, played by Idris Elba, and Odin is once again played by the veteran actor Anthony Hopkins. So, right off the back, incredible cast. I have heard that a lot of most of the jokes were like improv or not put into script. If that's the case, then that's fucking amazing, because I was like wheezing at points. I was crying. I was crying from how much I was laughing. I was laughing that intensely at some points. And I kind of want to go back because I feel like there may be like a little few things I may have missed, but I was trying to absorb as much information as possible. And one of the great things that this movie has, it has more than one plot that all comes together. So, before I get to spoilers, I definitely want to say, if I'm about to get to it, but definitely see this movie. There's a lot of great few cameos they put in this relating to the comics. It's action packed. It really gets that inner child out of you, like, oh snap, that's awesome, boom, path, and it's just crazy, and it's colorful, and the set design is amazing. It's incredibly creative, and it is definitely by far the best Thor film, and it's one of the best MCU films in my opinion. So, about to get into the plot. So that section was just basic overview of how I feel, and now I'm about to get into how everything goes through. So in this movie, Thor returns to Asgard. He fights with this this mythological being. He's made out of fire, and he just has a skull head with giant horns, named Surtur. Surtur wishes to take over Asgard and make it like fire, and he's kept up Thor like this weird underground lair with all these monsters, and that was pretty awesome to start off with. That there's a few good jokes that Thor has talking to a skeleton, because that's the only friend he has down there. And right off the back, you get this sudden fusion of 80s punk rock style, and shit you like to see on like rock and punk rock albums from back in the day, where it was just wild and it was all about the fantasy, kind of like mix between Lord of the Rings and other like really out there different properties, and they'll put their own spin to it. It was all about, oh, that's out there, man, and what's this and what's that, and what kind of dragon can we put up here, and what kind of rainbow colors. And this takes it full tilt and just goes wild with it. Like, probably the only negative I would give, negatives I would give this movie is sometimes when they want to have impactful moments, it's quickly undercut by a joke. Sometimes, it can, very small moments throughout the movie, it's just like, that's too quick. Very rare. I think I might have only one or two times that happened. Other than that, barrel laughs. Pretty much every joke lands perfectly. I just gotta give props to just the performances. Performances are great in this. Chris Hemsworth. I can't separate Thor from that actor. This man could be 80 and hadn't played this character in like decades, and I'm still going to think of him as Thor. I just can't help it. And everybody gets their own like arc. Probably the most one of my favorite arcs that I saw was Scourge. Now Scourge is all about impressing ladies and getting things from different realms. He becomes he takes the job of Heimdall because he had to escape for not doing his job right, something like that, and Odin cast him aside. Odin hasn't been on Asgard for quite some time. Loki, if you remember back to Thor: The Dark World, not the best MCU film, but he replaced him and was using, the old Loki trickery of making it look like he's somebody else. So this whole time, he's tricked everybody in Asgard. They got a Loki statue since Thor's been gone, and Matt Damon is in like a fictionalized play of what happened in the past movie. I'm just like, oh, come on. I was not expecting seeing Matt Damon, but it was funny to see him. We get so Thor wants to learn more about where his actual daddy went, and he bumps into Doctor Strange. That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun seeing Doctor Strange and the comedy bounce off between them. I was probably nerding way too much because I'm like jumping my seat. Like, ooh, it's that, and nerdgasm. That type of shit. But whatever. I don't care. Warriors 3 get axed off very soon. Odin dissipates very much like Oogway from the first Kung Fu Panda film, and just becomes like yellow particles. Hela just like, well, shit. I want to take over Asgard because it was denied to me many, many, many years ago, and I want it. I'm the first-born child of Odin. We get some Moorish shit where it's just like, he is the father, and we know for this long, like, holy shit. And she goes to Asgard. She pushes Loki and Thor while they're traveling, right before they get to the Rainbow Bridge, just teleporting. And they both end up on Sakaar, which is where, Planet Hulk and all that happens. She kills the Warriors 3. She takes on Scourge, Carl Urban's character, to be, you know, like a right hand man, and she reanimates the the dead soldiers from times past in Asgard, and she reawakens Fenris the wolf. He starts terrorizing all of Asgard, and I don't know how many people live in Asgard, but I'm going to assume it's well over 1 million. So she kills a lot of people, because the last group of people, you know, only could fit into a vessel. So that's probably about maybe 3,000. So she killed a fuck ton of people. So she ain't nothing to play with. She has a lot of like funny lines, because frequently she has to play the straight man, oh well, straight woman, I guess. Like she frequently takes things like really seriously. But I do understand like why she would want this. You know, she feels defeated and she wants some kind of power. She feels cheated by, you know, her own blood, or I guess Icar, because they're gods. Anyway, so it was a lot of fun to see the banter of whether it's Hulk and Thor, or if it's Bruce Banner and Thor. It was all amazing. It was great to see the Quinjet and how he came back from Age Ultron and went off from Sokovia, and apparently got lost on his way and ended up at Sakaar. I was very entertained to see that Thor was trying to reuse the sun getting low mantra that Black Widow used to use on Hulk, and that was the thing that de-hulked him. I'm like, that's fucking beautiful. It you know, this movie for me helps kind of strengthen some of the scenes in Age of Ultron. It helps put some legitimacy in why Thor would have that vision of Asgard falling, and why he would want to find out and go back to it. Because without having this kind of information, it just seems really out of place. Now, if you argue that is, I'm not going to say that you're wrong or anything, but for me personally, I just feel like, well, that helps build off of something that happened earlier, and it helps strengthen the idea of how much he really did care, and how much humanity is brought to him by, you know, Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff's character. Oh, I'm sorry, character. Her persona, espionage persona. And just more I think about it, another great character was Grandmaster. It's just Jeff Goldblum being a slightly more exaggerated version of himself that you see from the movies. He doesn't quite do the ha ha laugh, but he's still a lot of fun, and he's just crazy, but not like shaking crazy and like cartoonish crazy. He's just he needs help because another badass character we get is Valkyrie. She kicks fucking ass in this movie. I really do feel the relationship that she builds between Hulk and Thor, the Revengers. Korg has a lot of great lines. They find him with Meek, and they're kept as fighting slaves, much as Hulk is. But Hulk, when Bruce Banner becomes Hulk, and especially for a prolonged time, for the past 2 years, like he has been, you know, it's harder to separate Bruce Banner from Hulk, and you just see how much more he acts like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. He just impatient. He's like, oh yeah, I have my friend, or I don't like you because you did that one thing. I'm gonna be mad at you, and just like he keeps doing that. I'm like, that's amazing writing, in my opinion. It just adds more and more to his character. So Idris Elba comes back and takes the sword that acts as a key for the entrance into Asgard. He helps New Resistance with the regular Asgardian people because all the troops get they get stretched by Hela in like a really brutal scene. Like there's no like much blood, but it is still like visceral, and how she just takes them out. And quick aside, Hela is evilly attractive. And Mjolnir destroyed by her, and you kind of feel like that was like that was like Thor losing like a puppy that he was really attached to, like that they did everything for with him. Kind of think like the dog from I Am Legend with Will Smith's character. That's what kind of relationship. He would not leave that damn hammer. And meanwhile, there's also resistance being built up from the same people that cheer on the Hulk, and they don't want to be slaves anymore. Surtur's head is removed by Thor in the beginning, and it's reused by the very shady Loki, who goes back and forth, and it's always fun to see him be thrown and him have post-traumatic stress disorder from being thrown around by Hulk in the Avengers film. That was amazing. And yeah, so the former slaves that had that were made to fight in this arena, much like John Carter, and they were kept in this big, colorful city that straight from like Jack Kirby's designs, just beautiful. They go off to Asgard to help to go against Hela and her monster army. And once again, we come back to Scourge, and he's having like conflicts if he should do this, and then he realizes he should go the righteous way and help protect Asgard. But Surtur is rewoken by the eternal flame by Loki, and then he starts going dukes with Hela. Fenris the Wolf is already defeated by Hulk, and they all get into their ship. They see Asgard blows up. Hela just straight Fetty Wops Thor's face, and he looks a lot like Odin did. Hela is destroyed. Surtur is destroyed. Asgard destroyed. I was expecting that Surtur would become so powerful and just so wrecking that everything would be demolished completely. I'm like, holy shit. I'm glad we got off when we did. I'm glad he wasn't too late or some shit like that. That would have been, oof. But now is the question of what they're gonna do, and Thor becomes the new head of the Asgardian people, because I think it's said at least once or twice that Asgard is not a place; it's the people, and that's a beautiful thing to think about. If you just think about it relating to the real world, like what makes me American or black man is not just because I have to be in a black community or I have to be in America. I'm always American. I'm always going to do what I feel is right for whatever people I'm trying to represent. It's not about antagonizing another group. It's just about uplifting, your fellow man. And we just don't know where it's going to go, but we do know that Thor is going to be and Avengers Infinity War. And I can't wait to see that shit, because you know that shit's gonna be fucking bomb, nigga. I'm gonna give this movie an A. I heavily enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. Some points I was gonna jump out of my seat just how much I enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite MCU films. And as part of the critics, you know I love you.